Dr. Reza, and good morning in North America, and a good afternoon in Europe, and good evening in Asia. It's an honor for me to moderate this very distinguished panel and a very important and critical topic, especially in these times, travel and tourism bringing people together. We will have some very distinguished panel members that I just quickly introduce. They will have around 5 to 10 minutes to make an intervention. And then we will also welcome questions to really have an interactive discussion and debate. Just very quickly, from a logistics standpoint, first of all, I also want to thank all the viewers on Zoom, but also I know that many people are joining on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. The summit is being recorded and will be available on the website to view later on as well. The bios, I will not read all the lengthy bios of our distinguished panelists. I just highlight a few things, but you can read the entire bios on the website as well. And there are no PowerPoint presentations, but any documents that are being mentioned or shared will also be made available on the website as well. So again, thank you very much for joining. My name is Dr. Jens Trainhardt. I'm the founding partner of Chameleon Strategies and also editor of the balancedtourism.com blog. Without further ado, we have a very distinguished panel, including the Minister of Environment and Tourism of Botswana, the Honorable Vida Nani Kereng, the Minister of Tourism of Ghana, His Excellency Dr. Ibrahim Mohamed Awal, the Minister of Tourism of Jamaica, Minister Edmund Bartlett, Mr. Peter Simone, who is the chairman of the Pacific Asia Travel Association, the Director General of Tourism of Bhutan, Mr. Dorji Dradul, Mrs. Gloria Gueva, the Chief Advisor to the Minister of Tourism of Saudi Arabia, His Excellency Ahmed Al-Khatib, Professor Francesco Frangielli, former Secretary General of the United Nations World Tourism Organization, UNWTO, and also Dr. Taleb Rifai, also a former Secretary General of the UNWTO, Ms. Burshin Turkan, the former President of Skull International, and Mr. Hisham Zazu, who is the former Minister of Tourism of Egypt. So our first speaker is the Minister of Environment and Tourism of Botswana, the Honorary Vida Nani Kereng. Botswana is a very interesting and fascinating country, having done some amazing work when it comes to conservation, and Her Excellency is credited for a lot of work. And by reading her bio, I was also impressed by all her accomplishments, but many people probably don't know that she's also an assistant pastor of the church. So I'm really looking forward to her remarks. Over to you, Minister.
Thank you very much, Dr. Jens, and good afternoon to all of us gathered here. I think it's a very important topic for us to discuss, and it's an honor to be included in this panel. Thank you for just the few remarks you've made about Botswana, because I'm going to share a little bit about what we are doing here that speaks to this topic. I think after experiencing COVID-19, when we revised our tourism policy as a country, which was talking about expanding and diversifying tourism products away from the mainstream wildlife and the iconic landscapes like the Okavango Delta. We were not talking much about people experiencing people here. We were talking much about a tourism product that focused mainly on pristine landscapes and experiences with wildlife and so forth. So after COVID or during COVID, when we reversed our policy to diversify into culture, to diversify into more people-based experiences, we realized that the post-COVID tourist needs to experience much more than the natural, landscapes and what the nature gives to connect with people. That is why within our product, we talk about people connecting to dance together, to eat together, to talk, to chat, and to experience, music, and to be able to, be part of a community, during the time that they visit. So this topic is actually saying that we are, enhancing or developing our tourism sector, to include more of people-based connections, and that is also helping to build, one community across the globe that brings people together from across different cultures, different backgrounds, different histories, and connecting in one space. So it's important for us to look at this as a strategic, tourism, development and recovery and also sustainability. When we talk about bringing in people into this space. No, the key to this process is that when people travel, they travel because they have heard, they have read, they have been told about a destination like Botswana, and of course they'll talk about wildlife. But we've realized that what they give us as feedback is that we have seen a lot of beautiful things, we have experienced the Big Five, but we have also met good people, their smile, their hospitality, they have been so good. We have experienced the culture, we've experienced the food, we have experienced a lot of livelihoods, how people here live and how they connect, together with people from outside, when you connect people who have not met before. So it fosters, acceptance, learning about, other people, other cultures. It fosters, connection. It fosters embracing and acceptance of different people, and they can together in that space during that tour be able to connect with people. They end up saying, I want to relocate to this place, I want to move and open a new office in that place, I have made friends, I want to marry in that place. I mean, these are the things that come as a result of this connectivity that we need to build on. It also has, of course, the potential to build peace among people. When you talk about people traveling and they are able to travel to places where they can be able to bring people together and accept them, we are enforcing peace across the world. We're talking about people visiting, places where they are different, where the people there are different in terms of cultures, in terms of religion. I'm a pastor, I'm a Christian, but sometimes you don't see, this connectivity and embracing and people actually, coming together as different religions. But let me tell you, I just came from Dubai last week, and the way that I saw a destination that is open to all religions, I saw peace being built in that kind of format where, Christians are being celebrated. When it comes to, Ramadan, they celebrate that. When it comes to, Diwali, they do the same thing. So I love tourism, how it's able to cut across religions and be able to bring us together. I was at the COP 28, and I was in a panel where we talk about how religion can actually come together, different beliefs, to build people together. So we have people in the diaspora that are also critical in building, peaceful, destinations and connecting the world. These people, they want to connect with certain places where they came from. They want to introduce the places of origin to where they've moved to. And we are seeing increasing in terms of connectivity within people in diaspora. We're talking about regional connectivity, Afro-Caribbean connectivity, because I know my friend Bartlett is here. We are working on a memorandum of understanding to work together with the Caribbean block to build the cultural, connection between where they think they originate from, being Africa, and we'll be able to foster, tourism, connectivity. We'll be able to host the Caribbeans and vice versa, and build and revive the cultural and history that connects them. So we're talking about all that, breaking the walls and changing mindsets, and the result is that people will begin to move to other areas to settle there. People will begin to accept, one another. They can go out and work because they travel to places and they experienced and they loved it. It also advances the economy when we expand our markets. It enhances our livelihoods when we have fertilization of new ideas from people that we welcome to our destinations. And at the end of the day, peace is built. What do we need to do there? As I conclude, we have to be able to, like we did as a government of Botswana, to expand our tourism policy, make sure that it facilitates all this connectivity through culture, through heritage, through history, and so forth. Standard operating procedures are critical for the tourism sector operators to be able to, in their packages, include activities that will connect people with people. Don't just take people on a game drive or a boat drive where they will see the big five. After that, connect them with the community. We do village tours now. We do dinner under the stars, with people. They hear stories from the local communities around, and they do food, and they eat together, they do music and dance. So we also need to strengthen the bilateral and multilateral agreements to inculcate the tourism that you're talking about, where we'll be able to build, connectivity, where tourism will be promoted through those, also enhancing the regional collaborations like I've just talked about, the Afro-Caribbean. We want Afro-Arabic connection. I did the desert safari in Dubai, and I said, we have a desert, the Kalahari Desert. How can we not build, a synergy between these two destinations to be able to promote Arabic and African people, Botswana people together in the space of desert safari? So that's all that we have. We have everything that can help us. I think I must end there and just emphasize that when we work on events, conferences, all the kinds of meetings that we have, we must be able to, put in there, connectivity in terms of culture and people, and be able to build, peaceful, synergies that can enhance people existing together. I think it's also important to address the issue of air connectivity. People will read about a destination they want to travel. They must reach it very fast, seamlessly, and they must be able to have, hassle-free travel. I want to also emphasize documentaries are very critical. How do we document destinations to be able to get people to know how people live there, so they want to be able to connect with those lives, learn the languages, they want to read about all those. What about films and books, the bloggers, the media, people who are in the media space help us to bring up, destinations for the connection of people. Institutions like the Tourism Institute of Tourism. How do we enforce the thing of peaceful, connectivity and people, bonding together through tourism, through language, through tourism, training, through student exchanges, through public lectures, and through the curricula that we need to do. How do we enhance packaging and promotion of destinations, focusing on people? And of course, we need to make sure that we can direct the right investments to build such destinations, so that they give us the best of the experiences, especially when people connect together. A lot of things do happen. I thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Minister, and thank you so much for respecting the time. You were perfect. You made some very interesting points, and I just wanted to kind of highlight one. I just recently worked in the Caribbean, in Barbados, and you mentioned the connection between Africa and the Caribbean, and I think that's very much aligned to this theme here, bringing people together, and the diaspora, obviously, from Africa and the Caribbean is very powerful, and tourism through culture can really foster these connections. So I don't know if you wanted to say one more thing about that, how you work together with your country, Botswana, and Caribbean countries. You mentioned Jamaica, but other ones as well. How do you look to build these connections and bring these people together?
Okay, we are working on that through the bilateral agreements. We were in Jamaica in February, and we had already started a process of an MOU that is going to bring together the government of Botswana and the government of Jamaica, on programs that are going to help us to connect our tourism packaging promotion. And we'll be starting to host, Jamaicans and other, through Jamaica, other Caribbean, friends, sisters, and brothers coming to what we believe is the cradle of humankind. We have an area called Makgadikgadi up north there, close to the gateway to the Okavango Delta, where research has shown that it's the cradle of humankind. So we want to be able to connect people who are saying, I'm a Caribbean, I have African roots, so I want to go there and connect with my people. So this is what we are going to be enforcing through cultural events, cultural activities, through everything that you can do so that you can be able to have movement of tourists coming directly here, and we'll be doing the same thing. Recently, we were on a state visit to Bahamas doing the same thing. Also, it helps us to learn how they are doing better in certain areas and how we can learn from them, especially in also for Jamaica in the area of skills building, capacity building. And I think, through bilaterals with the countries, we have a mission in Brazil that is going to help us to bring that together. And also our missions in the US are helping us through that for government to government, programming around this. And I think it's going to be quite productive. Then we will be, providing the right environment for the tourism sector operators to connect and start working together on those packages. We've started seeing them coming to our tourism promotion activities here in Botswana, coming from the Caribbean, and seeing we are starting to bring people here.
Thank you so much, Minister. Very, very good. And as we're on that topic, I do know my previous job in Barbados has created links to other countries as well in Africa, including Ghana. And now I'd like to introduce the Honorary Minister of Tourism from Ghana, Dr. Ibrahim Mohamed Awal, who I'm sure could also touch on the topic of linkages between Africa and the Caribbean, but also the whole question around, has tourism really succeeded in bringing people together? Minister, before I actually introduce the minister, I read his bio, and when I read the bio, I was also impressed that he received a Lifetime Achievement Award for promoting Destination Africa. And I think that's also something very interesting to hear, and his passion around entrepreneurship, where he built a whole platform around entrepreneurship in Ghana. So I'm very excited to hear now His Excellency Dr. Ibrahim Mohamed Awal, the Minister of Tourism of Ghana. Minister.
Thank you so much, and thank you for the opportunity. Welcome to Ghana, the center of the world. Ghana is longitude 0, latitude 0. So if you want to be at the center of the world, please come to Ghana, the most peaceful country you can find, with loving people and the best food. If you want good food to eat, authentic African dishes, please visit Ghana. Tourism, as you all know, has been a tool to bring people together and to spur economic growth. In Ghana, we have several key initiatives to bring people together and to make tourism as a tool for peace. One of our advantages is heritage tourism. 75% of all the castles used during the slave trade are found along the coast of Ghana. 75% of all the castles that were used during the 200 years of slavery. In addition to that, we have cultural tourism, a very important angle for us. So in 2019 and 2020, the President of Ghana, President Nana Akufo-Addo, declared what they call the year of return, the beyond the return. This was a clarion call to all Africans over the last 400 years who were forcibly taken away from their land to come back to Ghana as a birthright. And today, the year of return, beyond return have become a global movement. Millions of people come every year to Ghana as a result of this clarion call by our president. And this movement is uniting people, bring about peace. When people come, those perspectives are broken down. We respect each other's values and understand cultures. So for us, festivals are very important for us as a tool to unite people and to bring peace. Every week in Ghana, every week, there are very important festivals across the level of the country. This was attended not only by Ghanaians, but also by foreigners from Africa, from Europe, Asia, etc. So for us, festivals are very important. Ghana is one of the rich and diverse cultural festivals amongst people. And these festivals are a source of a tool to enhance growth, to cement relationship, and to build friendships, and therefore ultimately bring about peace. So the year of return and the beyond return have become very big global movements that have been played around the world to Ghana to see not only our ecotourism facilities, our heritage tourism, but also to serve our food and our people. Another area that we are using to promote peace and bring unity is the creative arts. Our young people are very talented in music and in film. It's a government deliberate policy to ensure that we explore, leverage that, the strength of these young people in the creative arts. And today, Ghanaian music, Ghanaian films are everywhere. These are some of the things we do. We want to encourage cultural exchanges among the young people from Ghana, from across Africa to Europe, America, and Asia. That's the way to bring people together. And last year, Global Citizen from the US held one of the biggest concerts in the world in Accra, Global Citizens. And this concert attracted a lot of people around the world. For the first time, people came and said, wow, is this Ghana? Is this Africa? So we have identified the importance of culture as a tool to bring peace and unity among the people. We have important festivals like Damba festivals, Akwambo Festival, Ejura Festival, Homowo Festival. These are all festivals that ignite passion among our people in terms of culture, and they serve as a rallying point for unity. So I think that today, as we speak, December, Accra has become the global center for entertainment. The whole world has descended on Ghana today, as we speak. Usually between the 15th of December and the 10th of January, Accra becomes the global center for entertainment. It's called December in Ghana. The whole world is there. Within this 1 month period, we expect over 115,000 people from across the world to come and enjoy, entertain themselves, and then take advantage of our gastronomy. So Accra, for that matter, Ghana, has positioned itself as a center for global entertainment in December. And all these people come, young people, average people, elderly, they come to support our culture. So we are very deliberate about it because culture impacts on other sectors like agriculture, like trade, investment. So for us, when people come as tourists, it's a good opportunity for them to look into other areas. It's a deliberate thing we promote. So for us, culture is very important. And to do that, we've decided to improve on the skill set of our people. So we are teaming up with a lot of institutions around the world, including the Caribbean. We have a relationship with Barbados, we have a relationship with Bahamas to build upon the quality of our service and to make sure that what the importance in tourism is a peak tourism. When people come and they are satisfied, they not only come back, they come back family and friends, they stay longer and they spend more. And this goes to enrich the local economy. So for us, in order to achieve sustainability, we're involving the local people, communities, in the designing, management, and execution of our tourism projects. Because when they have the benefits at the local level, they are part of it. That's how we achieve sustainability and ensure that the tourism is not overexploited and the people at the grassroots are not unduly suffer for it. So our whole package in Ghana is to use festivals, which is very rich, as a lever to promote tourism, to promote peace, and promote unity among the people. We have some of the rich and diverse culture in the world in Ghana. If you see our Kente, the Kente is from Ghana. And it's now going to be a UNESCO protected material. So you can see Ghana's fabrics, rich, diverse, very colorful. That's how we're promoting culture. And people come from all over the world, from Asia, Europe, America, just to see our culture, which has a lot of Kente and the smoke. So we are very prepared and very willing to make sure that we not only keep on running, but keep on flying by making culture the basis of our tourism. Because we think that every week, as I said in Ghana, there are festivals. And this festival attract people, not just outsiders, also Ghanaians. And like I said, we also want to use the culture, the creativity of our young people in terms of music and movies, film. That's how we will promote it. When you have to send your movies and films outside your continent, you're also selling your culture. Perspectives are built, friendships are built, stereotypes are broken down, and unity is achieved. So for us, culture, tourism, and creativity of young people are very key in our drive to make sure that tourism only doesn't spur economic growth, also bring people together and achieve and create unity among our people. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you very much, Minister. Great points, and I especially like your comment as it relates to leveraging culture and music and bringing people together. And I think you've done a lot of work, especially with young people in Africa, and not just bringing people together in Ghana, but also across other African nations. So thank you very much. Next up, we have the Minister of Tourism from Jamaica, Minister Edmund Bartlett. Unfortunately, we just received a message from him that he is unable to join because he has to join meetings with his Prime Minister. It would have been great to have Minister Bartlett here now to talk, obviously, about the Caribbean and the Africa connection, but I think we can do that at a later stage in time. So with that, I will move on to Asia. And I have my friend Peter Simone here, who is the chairman of the Pacific Asia Travel Association. I believe Peter is dialing in from China right now. Peter has some very extensive experience when it comes to tourism development organizations from Vietnam, Laos, and recently Timor-Leste. And I think he will probably give us some great insights when it comes to the recovery right now in the Asia-Pacific region and how tourism can bring people together. Peter, over to you.
Thank you, Jens. Lovely to see you, and lovely to see everybody that's on the call today, on the forum. As you said, I'm calling in from Beijing, China, where it's -16, and being a person of the tropics, living in Bangkok and Bali, I must admit that I'm suffering. I'm not used to this. But thank you also, Reza, for the opportunity and for organizing this excellent event. I've written down a few notes, and I'm just going to share those with everybody. So the current geopolitical unrest taking place across the globe is honestly an existential threat to the travel and tourism industry. And I think that all of us need to remember that without peace, there is no tourism. So think about it. If we as tourism leaders don't speak out against wars, such as the one taking place in Israel and Palestine, we will be out of a job, and we will have failed our respective constituencies and stakeholders. At the Pacific Asia Travel Association, or PATA, we believe that there's enormous potential to bring the world together through tourism. Asia and the Pacific is home to all of the world's major religions. It really is a living museum and a kaleidoscope of the most unique and precious cultures known to mankind. As we all know, tourism boosts the revenue of economies, creates millions of jobs, develops infrastructure, and plants a sense of cultural exchange between foreigners and the local host community. Tourism can help us unite people by promoting cultural exchange, creating shared experiences, providing economic benefits, and promoting peace and understanding. During the course of my travels, I've experienced how interacting with people from different countries results in an exchange of not only dialogue, but also cultural exchange that ultimately builds and strengthens ties. Unfortunately, our news media is filled with bad news that is often politicized for profit, personal agendas, and self-interest. There is a lot of fear-mongering in this day and age. This results in countries, religions, and cultures being misrepresented and mischaracterized. The United States, where I was born, is subject to a high degree of ethnocentrism and extreme views of people and places that are different to what the average American is accustomed to. It's a strange situation for a country that was built on the backbone of immigrants. America used to be a melting pot where anyone could succeed, regardless of your place of birth, race, creed, religion, or ethnicity. The American dream was something that many aspired to. Sadly, the America that I grew up is changing rapidly. Some of the rhetoric propagated by politicians across the globe is toxic, disgraceful, and dangerous. It has the potential to put us on a collision course with the inherent dangers of racism and intolerance, which can eventually lead to war, much like what we are experiencing today in the Middle East. For the past 6 months, I have spent an enormous amount of time in the People's Republic of China. I have gained respect for their economic and political system. I have been reminded of the charm and rich cultural traditions of the Chinese people. Through my own choice, I've become a tourism ambassador for China and find myself reminding people of the dynamism of the Middle Kingdom. Thanks to tourism, I have an understanding of China that I wouldn't have if I only listened to the news reports warning of the imminent dangers of a strong China. In recent months, I have created bonds with Chinese people that will last a lifetime. These people-to-people exchanges have helped me understand the Chinese perspective on life, family, friendship, and even geopolitics. If people from different countries establish such bonds with each other over a period, it will play a pivotal role in creating strong, positive linkages between nations. Through such connections, people will begin to understand, appreciate, and respect each other's cultures, values, and beliefs, thereby leading to solid friendships and camaraderie that are the genesis and foundation of long-lasting relationships. Amidst all of the tensions that we see across the world today, we must realize that ultimately, the largest section of the global community wants harmony and peace. Imagine if the feeling of oneness and neighborliness that we exhibit within our own local communities can be extended beyond borders and even globally. Tourism has the power to do that. It helps open our minds, see different perspectives, experience different cultures, and develop an understanding of the larger world and our fellow citizens of Earth, instead of grudges. Of course, tourism is not the ultimate answer to years of social, political, and economic conflicts between nations. That comes with its own complexities and sensitivities. But we as individuals can choose to leave all those complications behind and connect with each other on a human level through tourism. Only by bringing people together through tourism can we ever hope to learn, share, laugh, and inspire positive change. It is time for our industry to raise our profile as a priority sector that is not only an economic force, but also a conduit for peace and harmony amongst people. Thank you very much, Jens. Thanks, everybody, for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Peter. Some very insightful comments there, and greetings to chilly Beijing. I've lived there. I know how cold it can get. But thank you for bringing up the topic of the war. You mentioned the Israel-Palestine conflict that is going on at the moment. It is obviously not the only conflict that is going on. We have Ukraine. We have right next to our home, Thailand. We have Myanmar, Afghanistan. There's other ones, smaller ones that we don't even mention or not even really topics in the media. But I think the whole question around tourism and peace, and that's something that I believe Dr. Taleb Rifai and Professor Francesco Frangeli will touch on. But I think it's probably the most important question we have to ask ourselves today. You mentioned that without peace, there is no tourism. But then how can tourism create a positive impact to avoid war and other conflicts? Again, I think this is something that before the end of this webinar, we need to dive deeper in as well. But thank you for your comments, Peter. Next up, we have Mr. Dorji Dradul, who is my good friend from Bhutan. He serves as the Director General of Tourism of Bhutan since 2019. And just after 1 year of him joining, Bhutan became one of the best places to visit. And he made some very innovative partnerships with MasterCard and UNWTO. And having been to Bhutan, I know not only the beauty of the country, but also the very interesting policy of happiness and linking happiness with tourism. Over to you, Dorji, and I'm looking for some fascinating insight from Bhutan.
Thank you very much, Dr. Jens, and thank you also to Dr. Riza, the Institute of Tourism, for this. We have here in the panel Minister of Excellencies, other distinguished panelists, and especially also like to offer my special greetings to Dr. Talib Rivas. And it's really a great privilege for me to share our perspective. In fact, I would like to say my perspective, and which to some extent could be also Bhutan's tourism perspective on the theme of this webinar. Yes, in Bhutan, in pursuance to our so-called a unique tourism policy guided by a very unique kind of approach called high value, low volume tourism policy, which was in place since start of our tourism in early 1970s. Of course, over the years, just before a pandemic, this policy was really coming under threat. And of course, the COVID came. And then after the COVID of 2.5 years of closure, when we restarted, again, we were trying to bring back this tourism policy on track. So therefore, after the COVID, when we reopened, we have actually chosen to redefine our approach to those who explore our country, and which is coincidentally in perfect sync with the theme of our today's webinar, which is travel and tourism bring people together. Now we are saying the so-called tourists are no longer mere tourists, but rather we would like to call them as a guests or visitors who would grace our country with their presence. Now, this paradigm shift basically reflects our intent and a desire to go beyond the physical coming together, which is obvious as we usually talk about numbers when we talk about tourist arrivals. So while tourism brings people together, travel and tourism, but in Bhutan, what we are seeing is guided by our unique tourism policy of high value, low volume. We are deliberately trying to make this shift from the term tourist to visitor, because tourist, the word itself, while we will continue to use tourism, but the use of the word tourist to a visitor and to a guest is a big shift in line with this theme of this webinar, because tourists as per se, we believe that this is a bit of a more of a commercial thing, more of a business-like thing. So therefore, we want to connect people through tourism beyond this revenue and receipts. We are not just talking about the money that we generate from tourism. So therefore, we are deliberately trying to avoid using the word tourist to a visitor or to a guest. So instead, we would rather like to now start using word, call them our visitors as a visitors and guests. Now, where we believe that we are doing this shift because we believe that words and the labels and the titles really matter. And by doing this, actually, we are now trying to lay the foundation for a relationship that is being brought by travel and tourism to build on respect, hospitality, and the shared humanity. Now, our concept is that once the visitors are yet to enter our country, we call them as a visitor. And once they are inside our country, then they get transformed into a guest, our personal guest, which basically signifies that the bond that goes beyond our transactional experiences. Now, in this new approach, the journey does not end again upon the departure of our guest. Instead, we aspire to extend and continue this connection with our guest even after the departure, and basically allowing us to affectionately, refer to them as now our brothers and sisters. So they are visitors before they enter our country. Once they enter our country, they become a guest. And then once they depart as our brothers and sisters. So that this ethos basically reflects our desire to cultivate relationships that endure not only with the visitors themselves, but beyond generations. They will transfer this relationship with our country to their children and to their grandchildren, actually. So therefore, this creates a tapestry of shared experiences that weaves the stories together. Now, in Bhutan, again, we aim not so with this concept, we are not just trying to showcase the beauty of our landscape, but to offer our guests the profound connections and the meaningful engagements. So our objective is to create multisensory experiences. We are talking about experiential tourism, as we all agree. So, and that transcends the conventional boundaries of the so-called, our tourism, basically further reinforcing the human values and fostering a sense of kinship that echoes through time. Now, again, at the heart of this approach is your commitment to the human-centric interaction, implying that the theme, the travel and tourism, which basically thrives on human interaction, emphasizing that human-centric interactions will elevate the travel experiences to a celebration of shared humanity. So therefore, I'd just like to conclude by this saying that it is our prayers and hope that through our collective, all those people engaged in tourism, through our collective insights and efforts, will pave a way for a future where travel and tourism becomes a real catalyst for evolving our world to as one close-knit family, enjoying peace and prosperity, like the one that was imagined by my favorite singer. I'm sure most of you, all of you will know, John Lennon. His song is Imagine. He's saying that, imagine there is no countries, brotherhood of mankind. Imagine all the people living in peace. And as Peter Simon has just said, that without peace, there is no tourism. So we are really talking about, when we're saying travel and tourism, bringing people together, I think we have to go a step further. It's not just the physical coming together of people, but I think beyond the physical coming together, I think we are talking about the growing of these values, the exchange, the real connection that we want to develop, so that this world becomes a beautiful, one small kind of a family. So thank you very much for giving me this such opportunity to share our perspective on this theme. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dorji, and some beautiful words there, and very much aligned to the ethos that people, when they come and visit Bhutan, get to experience. And I think you had a little bit of a multi-sensory experience yourself there in Bhutan, as I think you lost some light. But I was
That's
I
true.
was
Yes,
impressed
please light
that
off. Yes.
you didn't flinch once and just continued if nothing happened. But nevertheless, I think some really, I think, important points that you made. And I loved when you said that people come as a visitor, but they leave as brothers and sisters. And I think it's almost like you're building a community of people that become not only your friends, but also your ambassadors to spread the message of almost like what Bhutan as a mindset stands for. And I think, it's really aligned to what, this whole theme of this webinar stands for, bringing people together, and you almost like take it to a whole new level. So thank you for that, Dorji, and greetings to Bhutan.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Miss Gloria Guevara. However, she is traveling today, and she sent us a video. We'll play the video at the end of the webinar. So with that, we'll go over to Professor Francesco Frangelli, who is the former Secretary General of the UNWTO, the World Tourism Organization. He also was formerly the Director General of France Tourism, and has published various books and articles, and I'm sure has some insightful information for us as it relates to this critical topic. Professor Francesco Frangelli, please.
Good morning or good evening, I don't know. It depends on which part of the world you are. I was interested in hearing Peter Simon saying that he is in Beijing with -16. I was in Beijing 2 days ago, and I can confirm that the fairways of Beijing airport was ice. This is why my plane was delayed, but I was coming back from Jilin province, more to the north, and we had temperature between -10, 20 and -35. So when you speak to these people in the former Manchuria, it's complicated to explain that the global warming is underway. As you know, tourism is now again on the move. We are more or less now at 90% of the pre-pandemic level. From January to September, 935 international arrivals were registered, which is a good performance. Of course, Asia, especially China, because Mr. Simon referred to China, are a bit late on track because the lockdown and the constraint were there longer than in other parts of the world. So tourism will be able now to play again its role of contributing to peace and understanding between nations and people. I had a conference recently in Amfort, and I called my speech that these days were happy days. What we see now in two places, in Ukraine and in the Middle East, the Holy Land, it has not been always like that. Since my friend Telebrifa is there, let me recall what we did with the UN World Tourism Organization in the year 2000. I had a strange idea, which was to bring a group of major representatives from the tourism private sector and tourism ministers from Israel and the Arab countries through the Holy Land. We started in Amman, and I was happy to meet again the King of Jordan and His Majesty Abdullah we started by a strange discussion. I congratulate him because he had registered a video where he was on a motorbike across the streets of Amman, the ruins of Petra, the Wadi Rum, and he said to me, you know, the most funny, I received a call from the producer of these videos. He has been approached by Ariel Sharon, and Ariel Sharon wants to register the same video for promoting Israel. Can you imagine that? The big Ariel Sharon on a video, on a motorbike. This is absolutely incredible and impossible. And he was laughing at the idea. So we left Amman and we went across the Allenby Bridge to Jericho. Jericho was, we went to the casino of Jericho. And it was something very strange experience, because in this casino, all the players, all the gamblers were Jewish, because the gambling is not permitted in Israel. So they were coming to Jericho. And they was losing all their money to the Palestinians. I made the remark to the Minister of Tourism of Israel, who was there. I said, your fellow citizens, they are losing all their money. And he said, yes, they are sucking us. But everyone was pleased, you know, the gamblers from one side and those who were taking their money from the other side. It's a good image of tourism bringing people together. We went to Ramallah, and I received from Yasser Arafat the medal, the National Order of Palestine. I suppose there are not so many people like me who has received the National Order of Palestine and at the same time received the prize Ariel Sharon from the Israeli government. On the evening of this reception in Ramallah, we went to a show, and here were young Palestinians with their machine guns, crying slogans and expressing their hate of the Jewish enemy. And this was an anticipation of what was due to happen a few weeks later with the beginning of the second Intifada. When the patients are too high, even tourism cannot stop them. During the dinner, at the right-hand side of Yasser Arafat was the Minister of Tourism and Transport of Israel, and I was at the right-hand side of the minister. And at the moment, the minister received a message saying you have to return urgently to Tel Aviv because there is a strike of the in transport, and all the roads were blocked. So he apologized to President Arafat, and he left. And the Palestinian protocol asked me to move to be at the right-hand side of Arafat. It was a moment of the end of the dinner, and they brought to us, you know, this awful piece of pastry you have in the Arab countries, which is full of sugar. You cannot eat that. So I didn't eat that. And Arafat said to me, but you are not eating your dessert. I said, Mr. President, with my due respect, you are not eating your own one. And you say, you know, I cannot, I have the instruction from my doctor. And I had the impression to have close to me an old man, trembling, weak, not the brave fighter that he has been before, not the Nobel Prize of the past, This is what I understood. I understood the reason why at that moment he had not seized the opportunity offered by Ehud Barak and Bill Clinton. He could have had his country at that time, maybe if he had been a stronger man, not tied as it was. These days were happy. We could move from any country in the Middle East. The Minister of Tourism of Jordan, the successor of Taleb Rifai, was with us in Tel Aviv. We were at the balcony of our hotel. He showed me a building nearby. I was born there, and in 1948 we had to leave. So the Holy Land is a small land. From the top of Jerusalem, you can see Jericho and even Jordan. There was a period where tourism could bring people together. We could discuss, we could exchange, and we could have expectations. Ladies and gentlemen, let's hope that this time will come back.
Okay. Excellency, are you finished?
I have finished, I think so.
Okay, thank you so much. No, that was fascinating, and I think, yeah, getting recognition for both Palestine and Israel, obviously, especially in these days, is a very unique situation. So thank you for sharing your stories and your insights.
Let me add that.
With that,
let me add one thing. In addition,
sure.
When I was in Tel Aviv for the Prize Sharon, unfortunately, just a few days before, Sharon had this stroke, and after that he was unable to fulfill his task and was replaced by Ehud Olmert. And we had around my table all the prime minister, future and ancient, was there, including Benjamin Netanyahu. And my neighbor, who was the president of the Chamber of Commerce of Israel, said to me, "You have seen this man. You see this man, Netanyahu. He's the worst prime minister we ever had. But he's so good for communication. He could be able to sell a refrigerator to an Eskimo." And what we see now is true. It's not sufficient to be a good communicator, to be a good leader.
Great. Thank you so much, Excellency. And with that, staying in the UNWTO family, I'm pleased to give the word to Dr. Taleb Rifai, who is also the former Secretary General of the UNWTO, the World Tourism Organization. I believe most, or if not all, participants on this webinar know Dr. Rifai and his immense accomplishments during his tenure as Secretary General of the UNWTO. So with that, without further ado, I give the word over to Dr. Rifai. Please.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Am I heard okay? Is my voice okay?
Yes, we can hear you, sir.
Good. That's good. Okay. I also want to thank Rida for bringing us all together. I think without Rida, we wouldn't have been here, all of us. I want to start by commenting on what Minister Fildas and Minister Ibrahim said on Botswana and Ghana. Now, Botswana, I was there last week, and I met Minister Filda there. She was excellent. And the country of Botswana is a country that many people don't know much about, but it's a country. It's very, very much the essence of Africa. Africa, I said that in a lecture when I first started the meeting that we had there. I said, we all came out of Africa. We all did come out of Africa, East Africa. We went all around the world. Some people went to Arabia. From Arabia, they went up north to Asia and east to India. And from there, the Indians separated into going to China. And then Europeans were also part of that, because they came out of the people that came out of Africa. So I said the following. I said, there is a program on BBC television called The Journey of Man. Please see it if you don't know this. It says very clearly that all this humanity came out of Africa. So Minister Hilda, thank you so much for being with us. And Minister Ibrahim also, thanks a lot for being with us. I think both of you are wonderful people. I also had the chance of visit Ghana when I was still Secretary General of UNWTO. I visited most of the countries that you all came from. I'm speaking to you from Amman, Jordan. Now, Amman is now undergoing a very serious situation because of what's happened in Gaza. Tourism has been hit very hard here. Although, unlike many countries around the world, we had a very good rebound of tourism from January till September. But after the 7th of October, we were also hit by the aftermath of the Gaza events. Now, the Gaza events are a proof to many things. And I want to commend Peter for bringing us back to reality and saying that without peace, there is no tourism. Of course, without peace, there is no tourism. But tourism also is an event that can bring people together. Even now, like what you heard Francesco Frangiali talking about his trip to Amman, Jordan, and then to Israel. I made that trip exactly the same way he did. I met at that time Yasser Arafat and Mahmoud Abbas later. I went more than once to Israel. Now, the thing that is very important about tourism and travel is that it brings people together. Brings people together in ways that are not very common. Now, I want to say something about this. I always said it when I was still Secretary General. I want to repeat it in front of you now. I said, you can never, ever have wrong feelings or stereotyping any group of people that you went, visited, had lunch with, had dinner with, listened to their stories and their agonies in life. So it's important that when we travel from one place to another, we respect what the people are and we learn from them. Because another thing I always said is that when people travel from one place to another, the people in the country, in the destination, don't have to change to please this person. It's the other way around. The person has to change to please the people and fit with them, because he's there to learn from them, definitely. And it's that makes tourism a very important medium for travel and a very important medium for peace around the world. You visit a country, you cannot have negative images and feelings about their people, because as I did in Botswana last week, I met the people of Botswana. They're wonderful people. They left an effect and an impression on me. And I told the minister at the time, she's lucky to be minister of Botswana, because the people there are wonderful people, like the people of Ghana also. And the two countries are very democratic countries. They change their leaders with time. When I went there the first time as Secretary General of UNWTO, I had a different president from the one we saw this time. So it's like Ghana. Ghana is a very important country to us. Now, I want to say something about Bhutan, if you don't mind. Bhutan is a country that I love very much. And I think we heard the person responsible for tourism in Bhutan talking to you. Now, I went to Bhutan twice in my life. And every time I go there, I feel that it's a country that I like to be in, very much so. Bhutan is a country that I can identify. Many people ask me which is the best country you visited. I always think of Bhutan to say first, because Bhutan is a country that has tradition and culture very much rooted in every day. They still wear the same clothes as they did 500, 600 years ago. They still live in the same houses that they had 500, 600 years ago. Bhutan is a wonderful country as well. So thank you so much, Minister, for saying what you said about Bhutan. Thank you. It's important that you know that when I'm asked this question, my answer immediately would be, how could I say which is the most favorite son of mine? They're all my children. I can't say I like this country more than that country. But Bhutan is a country that I can single out always. And Bhutan is a country with great tradition. Thank you so much for being with us today. Thank you, Minister Filda, Minister Ibrahim also. Thank you so much for being with us. Now, I was impressed by what Minister Filda said also about the connection between Africa and the Arab world. I think that's a very important connection to make, because Egypt, for example, is a country in Africa, but it's a major country in the Arab world. All of North Africa is in Arab countries. And these are African countries, by all means. So I want to say that I think she's on the right track. A good minister, representing good people. Thank you so much, Minister Filda, for being with us. Now, I want to talk a little bit about what Peter talked about, which is war and tourism. War is something that's devastating for tourism. People don't travel to places where they feel they are at risk. That's what happened to us here in Jordan. People thought that Jordan is not safe. It's a very safe country. But people didn't come here because of what's happening in Gaza. We understand that very well. We sympathize with it. We sympathize with the people of Gaza, for sure. But the war there has brought us many realities that we cannot forget, especially the role of the United States in this. Now, the United States has been a country that has championed so many good things before, not this time. This time they took the wrong attitude towards it. And the United States is also responsible for what's happening in Ukraine, not the Russians, not the Chinese. Chinese, as you heard from our friend Peter, are very, very impressive people. They are very impressive people. And we need to get to know this, because if we don't discuss this openly, we'll never be able to achieve peace the way we want it to be achieved. Thank you so much. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to speak. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rifai. Thank you so much for your words of wisdom, and also your reflections on the various issues as it relates to connections with Arab and Africa, but also the issue of peace and war and how it relates to tourism. And I hope before we finish this webinar, as I mentioned at the beginning, we can have a more deeper discussion in terms of what tourism can do to drive peace and bring people together. And also the question, has tourism failed in its obligation to bring people together and maybe avoid conflicts in the world? But before we go into these questions, I'd like to introduce the next speaker, who is Ms. Gülşin Türkan. She's a former president of Skull International. for those of you who don't know SCUL, I'm sure everyone does, but if you don't, so SCUL is an association of private sector travel and tourism businesses. And it's global, and I believe it's the biggest association of travel and tourism businesses in the world. So I'm sure Mr. Khan can give us a little bit more information of what SCUL does and what has done, and also how SCUL, as a private sector organization, is able to connect people and drive peace. Mr. Khan, please.
Thank you very much, Dr. Jens. Thank you very much, Reza, for inviting me for this distinguished panel. It is my honor to be with you all today. Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed ministers and colleagues, as we approach the end of the year and this festive season, we are reminded of the unifying power of travel and tourism. My journey in this industry, enriched by roles in international business, especially as the former world president of SCUL International, has deeply ingrained in me the importance of friendship and connection in our profession. Now, SCUL, as an international organization, is one of the largest international associations, representing professionals across 85 countries and 320 cities, operates on the foundational principle of doing business among friends and connecting tourism globally. This motto not only captures the essence of the industry, but also underscores the critical role of tourism in fostering global understanding and respect. Now, the tourism industry today is dominated by two transformative themes. I think we all will agree on these two themes, that one of them is the urgent need for sustainability and the rising influence of artificial intelligence. Far from being fleeting trends, actually, these forces are fundamentally reshaping our approach to travel and hospitality. Now, in my projects, I explored the integration of AI and sustainability in tourism. This innovative approach is essential for creating travel experiences that are both responsible and transformative. For instance, in a project I led, integrating AI into guest services offered a family from a conflict region a personalized experience of peace, showing the potential of technology in crafting not just holidays, but hopes for a more harmonious world. Similarly, sustainability initiatives like the Green Ambassadors program I was involved with trained local youth in eco-tourism, empowering them and their communities. Such initiatives protect our planet and cultivate peace through economic and social development. Now, in SCUL International, during my presidency, among the 8 committees we started, the advocacy committee was one of them that connected, engaged, and mobilized our members in 85 countries, being involved in sustainability projects within their communities, and allowed them to promote their destinations through their initiatives in sustainability, among other advocacy topics that they handle. Now, these are some examples that highlight the tangible actions we can take to ensure tourism communities to be a beacon of hope and understanding. Now, there is another hot topic we can't bypass in the hospitality industry, especially. And that topic is the talent gap. We're all talking about tourism, the services, the destinations, and how we serve. We mentioned that without peace, there won't be any tourism, but we have to also remember that without talent, we can't offer the services that we want to offer. And today, there is a significant challenge to talent gap. While we're talking about the connection tourism creates, seeing the huge talent gap followed by the pandemic and great resignation is truly concerning, and we need to talk about it. To provide all the experiences we talked, we really need the talent. We need the next generation. The hospitality industry especially faces a unique challenge, but also an opportunity. The Great Resignation phenomenon that has seen millions leave their jobs worldwide has struck the hospitality industry with force. The problem is the workforce is not coming back. The major issue is the next generation's interest in our industry. Now, since we have such a distinguished panel here, I'd like to take this opportunity today As we have all these leaders from several countries, governments, global associations, I would like to invite all policymakers, industry leaders, academicians, industry associations, and the hospitality media personalities to come together and create a movement to secure the future of hospitality and its next generation leaders. We need to engage with educational institutions, share success stories, promote the vast and exciting opportunities this industry offers. Now, let us all in the industry unite to build this vital moment, securing a vibrant future for hospitality with the guidance and innovation of next generational leaders. As an industry, we must act to bridge this divide, nurturing a skilled and diverse workforce that can drive forward the principles of peace and friendship that SCAL International and the broader tourism community cherish. Now, in conclusion, in these challenging times, as we confront conflicts and divisions around the globe, the role of tourism as a peacemaker and unifier becomes ever more vital. And as we celebrate this season of love and peace, let us embrace the core values of our industry: friendship, understanding, and unity. Through tourism, we can transcend differences. We heard about all the examples that excellencies, ministers have expressed here. I really like the approach, especially Bhutan has, calling, the guests, tourists turns into guests and then leaves as sisters and brothers. It is in this spirit that we can help dissolve misconceptions and build of peace, reinforcing tourism's role as a powerful force in bridging people together, dispelling prejudice, and promoting a more connected and empathetic world. I'd like to thank you again for having me today.
Thank you so much. Great. Thank you. So as we're nearing the end, we are moving to our last two speakers. I would like to get you ready to send us a few questions. You can either send them in the chat here, or if you have my WhatsApp or Reza's WhatsApp, you can message us directly as well. I know there are probably a few people that have some questions, especially as it relates to the whole issue of tourism and war. I think that is something that is most relevant and critical today, and something that we should talk about. I can tell you this community here that two of my partners of my company, Chameleon Strategies, were just in the Ukraine, and we were appointed to be one of the companies to help with the recovery campaign after the war of Ukraine. And Ukraine just organized a tourism conference actually in the country. And so in the end, I mean, I met with the tourism minister of, or the Secretary of State of Tourism of Ukraine at the UNWTO General Assembly in Uzbekistan, and also in Rwanda at WTTC. And she said it's what's keeping the country alive is really a very active domestic tourism force. But obviously right now, there is no international tourism, even though you can travel to the Ukraine. And it is probably, she said, one of the safest countries to travel to. So anyhow, I think there's a lot of questions that people have, and I think we should open them up. So I encourage you to put your questions into the chat or message us directly. So with that, I'd like to move on to our next speaker, Mr. Hisham Zazou. His Excellency is the former Minister of Tourism of Egypt. Excellency, are you ready?
Unmute yourself.
Yes.
Unmute yourself.
Minister Zazou.
Yeah, I got the instructions first to mute, so apologies for that. Well, I'm happy to be here. I know that we're getting to the end of that webinar, and it's a pleasure for me to thank you, Dr. Jens, and thank also Mr. Reza Sultani, and of course my very dear friend, longtime friend, Dr. Talib Rifai, and the rest. Well, it was enlightening to hear from all of the guests and the panelists today. There is already a lot of information mentioned. I do not want to take much of the time left and listen to the recommendations more. But I would like to say the golden question that prevails in this webinar to me, because we all agree that tourism brings people together. And once people get together, things become different, and friendships are created, peace prevail. So the aftermath of the tourism is huge for humanity at large. This is no doubt we all agree upon. The question is always the egg and the hen. What is it? Tourism can play a role to bring peace to the various destinations, and then accordingly bring people together and cultures and experiences together that yields to the benefit of everybody and to the humanity down the line. But to achieve that, particularly when tensions and conflicts are prevailing, you do not know how to really achieve that. In my experience in Egypt, and by the way, referring also to the comments of Dr. Rifai and to Mrs. Minister from Botswana, I'm in Africa, but we're in Egypt is situated in a very unique place, where it's in Africa and the top east corner, where it connects actually Europe, Asia, Africa, and the Middle East, or this part of the world, where unfortunately these days we have this conflict of Gaza. We, like Jordan, are affected by what's happening in this war, unfortunately. When I look forward that it ends soon for everybody's and the world's benefit in that sense. However, my experience as a tourism minister, I took office at the time where the Arab Spring in my country took place. And accordingly, the images of demonstrations, etc., and maybe some violence taking place, created a challenge for my role to bring people. And one of the things that I had discussed even with Dr. Rifai then is how to put the message across to the world that Egypt is safe to visit. So one of the messages was to ask the people coming to this part, to any part of the world, is to be more or less geographically specific. So if you have, let's say, a conflict on the borders with Egypt in one part, but the rest of the country is okay, like in Jordan, the whole of the country is okay. So how to address that, to start creating awareness for people to start going back to the destination, was my challenge. It worked at the end. Now we enjoy stability in that sense, but again, we're affected by what's happening on our borders with Gaza and Israel in that respect. So the challenge and the question and the golden question is to have tourism working, to bring people together and create these synergies and the platforms to bring peace, while you have this overshadow of conflicts around a destination, is an important question to tackle. I used during my time technology, which is now important and prevailing. So once you use technology, let's say, to have a real-time imaging of people enjoying, even a few people enjoying their time in a destination in a country, to the world, to show to them that it's okay to come over. And once you bridge that obstacle, the ball starts to roll and better results you can gain. So I don't want to take much of the time for the following speaker, and then I'm really eager and excited to listen to the recommendations in that respect, and to be part of this group and bring these recommendations to the various governments and the various movers and stakeholders in the world to help our industry play a bigger role in bringing people together in peace in that sense. So thank you, Dr. Jens, and thank you for everybody allowing me to have this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Zarzou. Thanks for your insightful comments and greetings to Cairo. now we'd like to play the video greeting from Ms. Gloria Guevara. She is the chief advisor at the Ministry of Tourism of Saudi Arabia, advisor to His Excellency Minister Al Khatib. She's also the former CEO of the World Travel Tourism Council, WTTC, and the former Minister of Tourism of Mexico. So I believe, Reza, you need to
sound, I think.
Sound.
Of Saudi Arabia. Hello, my name is Gloria Guevara. I am the Chief Special Advisor for the Minister of Tourism of Saudi Arabia, His Excellency Ahmed Al Khatib. Thank you for the invitation in this important event. I'm glad that I can share with you my experience. Saudi Arabia is going through a massive transformation. This country has the three components that I believe are fundamental for any growth. First of all, the vision, second, the leadership, and third, the resources. The Vision 2030 is impressive. Under the leadership of His Royal Highness, Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, we know exactly where the country is going. It's amazing. By 2030, we know exactly where we're going to be and where Saudis want to share with the world the impressive transformation and the impressive set of assets that they have. Under the leadership of His Excellency Ahmed Al Khatib, we're executing the strategy of travel and tourism, where this country is investing like no other country in the world in travel and tourism and also in infrastructure. Almost $1 trillion are being invested, which takes me to the third component, which is the resources. Yes, we have the vision, we have the leadership, but we also are investing the resources in the sector. In my generation, I have never seen a transformation like the one that we're living in Saudi Arabia. So that's what I'm honored and pleased to be part of this. With this impressive transformation and investments, we're hoping to go from 3% of the contribution to the GDP to 10%. We are creating 1 million jobs as we speak. And at the same time, we're going to be receiving 100 million visitors between domestic and international by 2030. That, by the way, due to the success, that goal has been increased to 150. So that speaks about the amazing execution, but also the success of the plan that was put in place by His Excellency Ahmed Al Khatib and the leadership of the ecosystem that is helping in the execution as well. Saudi is going through a massive transformation, as I said before, that is not only helping Saudi, but is helping the entire sector globally. It has a massive impact, and we can see that in the multiple areas that we are being involved. His Excellency, as Chair of the Executive Council of the UNWTO, for instance, we have hosted very important events as the WTTC Global Summit and many other events this year. And we're going to be hosting in the future, as I'm sure probably you already know, Expo in 2030, that we're very happy and we're very pleased to be able to share with the world what is happening in the kingdom during also that time. Thank you for inviting me again. I would like to invite you to also invest in Consider Saudi and visit Saudi soon, so that you can witness the impressive transformation, the giga projects such as Diriyah, Red Sea, Alula, Qiddiya, NEOM, just to name some of them, and the transformation that this country is going through, and how Saudis are welcoming the world to enjoy this amazing country and the beautiful assets that they have, combined with an unprecedented hospitality. Thank you again, and looking forward to see you in Saudi soon.
Great. Thank you so much, Ms. Guevara, for this message. I'm sorry that you cannot be with us at this webinar, but we appreciate your time sending us this video. So these were all the speakers for this webinar, and I think we have around 10 minutes for some questions. I see here a question in the chat, and I'd like to ask Mr. Imtiaz Mukbil. He's the editor-in-chief of Travel Impact Newswire based in Bangkok, maybe to ask his question to the panelists.
Hello, everyone. I've written the whole question down there, Jens, so it's quite, it's easy to read. I especially want to just say a real warm hello to my old friends, Dr. Taleb, Peter Simon, Hisham Zazou, and a couple of other people, personal friends, longstanding. It's nice to see you here. The question is quite clear. If he has tourism, as Peter says, he's made a very strong call to action for tourism leaders to walk the talk of preaching peace and speaking out against wars such as the one taking place in Israel and Palestine. And as there are so many leaders here who have talked about peace, what specifically can be done to convert that call into action? And thanks very much, Peter, for raising that. Well done. I take my hat to you. Take my hat off to you. Keep up the good work.
Great. Thank you so much, Imtiaz. Maybe one of the ministers want to respond to that. I see the minister from Botswana.
I'm sorry, I missed the question, please. I was distracted for a minute. Sorry. What's the question?
Okay.
It's posted in the chat, Minister, if you have a look at it. Would you like me to read it out to you again?
Please do.
Yes, please, because I may have to scroll down the
As a number of panelists have mentioned, Mr. Simon made a very powerful statement. One of his comments being, if we as tourism leaders don't speak out against wars such as the one taking place in Israel and Palestine, we will all be out of a job and we will have failed our respective constituencies and stakeholders. That's the end of the quote. And that's a very powerful call to action. And my question is, do the various ministers and leaders on this panel see an opportunity to walk that talk?
To the ministers, I think, tourism recovery post-COVID and the diversification and sustainability building, within the industry is actually open for any, strategic thought, any new idea and thought, and thought and direction that will help us, to, propel a sustainable, can we get this word quickly? To propel, an ever-growing, sector, that is so critical to the economy. I think in this regard, the wars that we get, we are seeing Israel and Palestine, how they get prolonged and, their long-term impact on destinations, cannot be ignored. But I must admit that the governments, in terms of tourism, we have not, we are only starting to look at opportunities like this and be able to mainstream the thought of tourism within the strategic, turnarounds and strategies that must happen, within the environment created by different, things like climate change, like wars and stuff like that. So I think we are here talking, these topics through so we can build in that direction. I can't say that we are doing enough, because I also must emphasize that, one of the things that we are, focusing on is to synergize within government. I will say, when we talk about wars, for instance, we have tended to focus more on diplomatic relations and diplomatic positions and, voicing out positions through, what foreign affairs ministers, international foreign affairs ministers in different governments will be making statements. Sometimes they do vote, and we are not there as tourism ministers, and they have not gone there with the thought of tourism. We are starting now, so we can have any minister should talk tourism, and, we mainstream it, within everything that happens. That's why we've started talking tourism in terms of sustainability, climate change, and so forth. So what we need to do is to, strengthen linkages between foreign affairs, tourism, the presidential heads of state, so that when we have them go out, if we are not part of that delegation, then we can make sure that messages go and reach out the platform. When they talk about, I'm reading this quote, if you don't speak out against wars, we should be able to speak against wars, not just to condemn wars, but also to talk about how wars are affecting our drive and our efforts to, grow our economies and have peaceful destinations, and actually even, alleviate or mitigate the impacts of war through what tourism can do. So I think one of the things that we must highlight as a necessity or as a necessary strategic direction from this is synergies and strengthening governance and strengthening collaborations, strengthening, intersectoral, connection and mainstreaming tourism in everything that poses a risk. We have the tourism resilience that Jamaica has launched with the United Nations, and resilience must not just talk about how natural, disasters affect destinations, but also how wars do the same thing. So we can profile, these risks and be able to talk about them in terms of more attention, to interventions than just voice out a position or a concern.
Thank you very much, Minister.
I was wondering if Dr. Taleb had any comments on that. Dr. Taleb, as you know, the UNWTO was actually set up, was one of the first UN agencies to be set up after World War II and the formation of the UN. And the original objective was to bring peace to the world in the first place, long before the whole issue of jobs and economic development and other things came along. And as you're a two-time Secretary General of the UNWTO and with a serious conflict right on your own doorstep there, perhaps you might want to see how that can be converted into a call to action.
Okay. I want to add to what Minister Filda said. The fact that we need to be aggressive about this. We can't be neutral about wars. We can't be neutral. You can't really. You can't see things happening around you and not do something about them. Speak up. Speak up loud. I think that's important. I think that's what MTS was insinuating. That's what UNWTO was all about. Really speak up about all the issues that this world is passing through. I think that's important. Thank you so much. Thank you, MTS, for that good question. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rifai. Thank you, MTS. We have a gentleman with the name BST who raised his hand. Not sure if there was a mistake or not.
I'm not sure whether referring to me. I did raise my hand.
Okay, that's okay. That's okay. All right, thank you. Do we have any other questions?
Yeah, we have a question from the Hiroshima Global Peace Foundation that they're asking, does visiting Hiroshima, and I think what they mean like those areas like Chernobyl, like Auschwitz probably, does this create a sense of to understand the importance of peace or the conflict? How does it work actually? I think that's a good question. Should we actually in the tourism industry promote visiting those places? I mean, is Auschwitz just to going there and take a selfie, or Hiroshima, or is a tourist place, or what are those places? How can they have an influence on us, let's say? I don't know who wants to answer that.
So war, like also genocide, Phnom Penh, Rwanda, yes, all these places that remind us of what has happened in various conflict situations.
As Hiroshima is a huge destination. I mean, there are I think millions of visitors in Hiroshima, so that's probably
maybe Peter, do you have a comment on that?
Yeah, thanks, Jens. I think that Hiroshima and Auschwitz and the killing fields and all of these places around the world where there was great violence as a result of war, and where subsequently these places rebuilt after war. And also created monuments to recognize the pain and suffering that people went through, I think is very important. And I think it's a very important form of tourism. And, I think, Jens, I think of the work that we do in the Greater Mekong subregion. And I think it's remarkable how Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia, how they've recovered after war and how their tourism industries have prospered. So I think absolutely there should be, we should focus on those featuring those tourism destinations, but also recognize those countries that are able to rebuild themselves. And Jens, if you'll allow, I mean, one thing that I would like to also suggest, I know the UN, WTO, and the United Nations in general, they always talk about people, planet, prosperity. Is it time for us to add a fourth P, which is peace? And the only other thing that I wanted to throw out there is that maybe we need to call for, let's say, a year of peace through tourism, much like countries have, a visit Thailand year, or a visit whatever country it might be year. Maybe it's time for us to actually, as an industry, collectively come together and really have that as a core topic. Let's say, for example, in 2025, it takes a while to organize it, but collectively across countries, across some of our African friends that are on the call today, some of our friends from the Middle East, certainly here in Asia and the Pacific, we could also work on that. But that might be a place where we could feature these destinations like Hiroshima, but also really talk about the importance of tourism and the relationship between tourism and peace. So back to you, Jens. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. No, some great points. I think as relates to adding P to the 3 Ps, I think is a great idea. And the idea of a year of peace, maybe that's an initiative that PATA could take on and lead the world to it. But I think especially in the times that we have right now with conflict situations all over the world, I think that is something that really reminds us. And I think visiting these places from Hiroshima, and I was just, as probably many of the people that are on the call today, in Rwanda for the WTT summit, and had a chance to visit the Genocide Museum in Kigali, and how Rwanda has rebuilt itself and has become one people is remarkable. And I think for us to visit these places and learn and remember, I think is critical, and a critical role of tourism. We have another hand here, Dr. Levi Motebakjan from ATB.
Excuse me, I was raising my hand and then my mic didn't work. I am the guy with BST.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, Mr. Ram from Saudi Arabia. Yes, please. Yes, sir. Please go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. First of all, my name is Raed Habis. I'm a 35-year-old veteran from travel and tourism, worked with Saudi Airlines, IATA. I'm a peace promoter, and actually, I would like to thank the Institute of Tourism, Mr. Reza, Dr. Peter, yourself, the moderator, Dr. Ian, and all my friends, Dr. Talib, Dr. Hisham Zaza, and the rest of the speakers. I have an initiative actually to organize and make a call of action to make a world peace song similar to Michael Jackson, We Are the World, or like what our friend from Bataan said, Peter Lennon, we are, imagine the world where there is peace. And I have a great number of composers and musicians, and that I think we can make it as a recommendation out of this great panel discussion, since I see many of the world leaders in UNWTO and other associations such as PATA and SCAL, etc. And I'm ready to take on this challenge. So if you, and I think through music, always the message like what Dr. Zaza said, we need a quick solution to get the message to the globe, and then we can organize, great singers from all over the globe to sing a song to call for stopping the war in Gaza. Thank you so much for giving me the chance. Again, thank you very much for organizing such a great panel and discussion.
Thank you.
Thank you, and greetings to Saudi Arabia. We have Birgit Trauer has raised her hand. Please go ahead, Birgit.
Hello, greetings to everyone, and if I just connect also to Raid's point, again, the song is probably a good idea just to get into people's emotions. Music connects. To have a song that actually would bring us together might be a lovely idea. I made the point, and I referred back to Professor Francescali's comment that communication is important and it can create peace, but it can also create conflict. And communication that has been used so much and always talked about in travel and tourism is intercultural communication, very important. I used to teach that at universities as well. But it's also non-violent communication that is actually what we need, and that is something we need in daily life. Because we have now really become so stressful in our societies that everybody is on edge and actually speaks in a very violent way to each other and thinks about each other in a very violent way. And that's peace starts at home. So when we're looking at tourism, and I might always make that point every time again on these webinars, that the communication and education should start. It starts at home. Then we come to the destination. Then we come home. Someone else made that point, and afterwards, how do we conclude Bhutan to create that sense of being a visitor, of an appreciated person who goes to a place that other people call home? I know Barcelona also referred to tourists as temporary visitors or residents. So shifting that mindset in everybody, but also in industry, if I may say, a lot of people that I find that I work with or come across, they in sales in particular, it's so focused on hedonism and the whole notion of peace, which was actually promoted in 2016 at WTM presentation there for IIPT to work with SCORL International to promote the idea of peace through all the industry, and it didn't happen. So I think now it's overdue that we actually get into action and do something about it. So thank you very much. That's just my comment that I'd like to make. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. We have another raised hand, Dr. Levi Motebahan from ATB.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much, Program Director. And mine is not that, and it's just a comment for the good work done by Institute of Tourism. And I would like to support the two speakers, Bazin, who reiterated that talent is more important. So I'm in support and willing that the Institute should have centers of training, and we can partner with Institution of Higher Learning and TVET College. And then lastly, we need to bring together the kinship or the traditional people, particularly from Africa, so that we teach them the importance of tourism. But in conclusion, training and empowering our youth globally about the importance of tourism is more important. Thank you very much for the good work. I really appreciate it.
Great. Thank you very much. We have another hand raised by Sayed Ahmad.
Hi, sir.
If you can introduce yourself quickly, who you are and where you're calling from. We can't hear you. We can't hear you. You are.
Yes, you need to unmute yourself.
I think something wrong with your microphone.
No, he's okay now.
Okay, we can go maybe to the next Ms. Borsin. Turkan.
Okay, we can get back to you when your microphone works. So we have Ms. Turkan has raised her hand.
Yes. I just wanted to make a point. Everyone made great comments, and the importance of communicating the message of peace as we're talking about here, and the call of action. But there's the fact that we can talk as much as we want here in these type of, panels, which are great. We're live streaming right now on YouTube, but we all know that the power of media. So media becomes very important here. So it's very important that, any message that wants to be given needs to be out there in the media. So with this, maybe we need to invite the tourism media to job here to support any initiatives that is coming from associations or any, statements that are made by the associations or, all the professionals in the tourism industry. That needs to be out there. Without that, without, the information being shared with, in general, we can discuss and talk as much as we want. We know that the general media just likes to talk about the negative news and, the crisis and all that. So I think we need to more discuss first, the action plan to me is you make a plan. So what's the plan? So we want to put out a message. Okay, how are we going to put the message out? So we need the tourism, media. So we need to engage with all the tourism media out there and probably strategize to put all the messages out there. And we all have our individual, social media channels. So all these messages should also be shared individually or by associations constantly. Like in Skull International, what we've done is we've made an agreement with one of, tourism media companies, and we try to share every statement, every press release that comes out from our members out there. That's the only way. So I think it's really important. I love all the messages that we're talking here, the solutions, but taking action means it's, yes, there needs to be an action plan and put forward. And to put forward is we can't only depend on the ministers making statements. As, professionals in this industry, we need to take this job in our hands. And with that, we need to use all the resources and connections we have. And we need to put this, forward through the media as much as we can. That's what I wanted to add here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Much appreciated. So we're almost at the hour, wherever you are in the world, 11 p.m. in Bangkok. We have another hand raised. If you just keep it very short, just for a minute, Mr. Gassem Ruhi.
Yes, I will keep it short. I want to, I was listening to the idea of this 4P and the Year of Peace. I want to emphasize the importance of political education, and I will read you a short quote from the German social philosopher, Professor Dr. Oskar Necht, who said, no human being is born as a political being. That is why political education is a prerequisite for the existence of any peaceful society. And without peace, we will not have tourism. I want only to highlight the political education. It could be an agenda for tourism professionals and also for the UNWTO.
Great. Thank you so much for that comment. So with that, I'd like to thank first the Institute of Tourism, Dr. Reza Soltani, for organizing this important event. I'd like to thank all the speakers, and you can read about their full bios on the website, institutetourism.com. I'd like to thank all the participants and viewers, wherever you are in the world, for your comments and your thoughts, and for staying on for 2 full hours, which is, I think, in the post-COVID time where we all trying to get rid of Zoom and meet in person is not a usual occasion anymore. But I think we had, Reza, I think around 500 people join, which I think is extraordinary for a post-COVID webinar. So thank you very much. My name is Dr. Jens Strenhardt. I was honored to be your moderator today, and I'm looking forward to the next webinar. Have a good night, good day, good morning, wherever you are. Thank you so much.
Thank you so
Stay
much.
healthy.
Wonderful.
And wish all of you festive
Thank
holidays
you.
and a happy new year. All the best.
Thank you so much.
So much.
Happy
Thank you.
holidays.
Goodbye.
Waiting.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Have a
Thank
good
you,
day.
everybody,
so much,
too.
Minister Ibrahim.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, and wish you a good new year.
Thank you.